So along with our posture, we also have gestures, and gestures can be a bunch of different things. I think we have, it's like, oh, you move your hands, but there's actually different types of gestures. Mizzo, tell me what they are. Oh my gosh, I would love to. Okay, so an emblem is a gesture that is very easy to put into language. So what's this? Yep, this is it can be the peace sign. It can be the number 2. Um, I'm not going to do I'm going to be so strong and not do the derogatory, like, thing you can do with this gesture. I'm not going to do that. So proud of me. Um, do you know what else though? That in England, I'm about to talk about swearness. So if your little siblings are listening, or just to give a content warning. So in Britain, this actually means fuck you, because in a war with the French, they used to capture individuals and cut off these fingers so that they couldn't pull the triggers on their guns. Um, and so this was like saying, screw you, I still have my trigger fingers. Now, we have a version of this in the US. If you do this in the US, it doesn't mean anything, right? But in the US, what is it? You got it. It's this, right? And this comes from archery. That this is the finger, right, that used to pull the string, and I forget which conflict it was, but basically people would cut off this finger so that you couldn't pluck off. Huh? Isn't that cool? Right. So notice how emblems are very culturally infused. You have to know what they mean um, in terms of the culture that you're communicating them in. Um, we could argue, I think, that sign language is a bunch of emblems that has become its own language, right? Because sign language is its own language. It's not just signed English. It has its own syntax, its own sentence structure, etc. Um, so thinking about how, like, different emblems, different symbols that we might do in our cultures mean very specific things, right? Um, you know, uh, touchdown, or okay, sounds good, right? Or, turn that down, right? Um, God, I love like cranking a volume, right? So this sometimes bleeds into illustrators. They're a little similar, but they are distinct. So emblems are when you can easily translate something into a word or a phrase. Illustrators are when you show how big or little or the characteristics of something. So when someone is like, oh, just a little, right? That's an illustrator. Or, how big was it? Oh, it was about this big, right? Or even showing like the shape of something would be an illustrator. I like to think of when you ask someone for directions and they start pointing, like, you go over there, you go over there. That's an illustrator. You're illustrating, where to go or how big something is, it's illustrative. Effects and displays are the body's little movements that add pizzazz to whatever you're saying. So a shrug, right? Or like the way your shoulders might move. Um, when you watch the Dane Cook video that I put in the folder, he at the very, very end, if you watch at the very, very, very end, he does a great like effect. He rolls his shoulder and it moves with his head, and it's such a beautiful effect and display. This is the little things, and affect is hard because it's always like moving and it's indeterminate, so you can never pin it down, but it's basically like how emotion flows through your body, right? Again, have you ever just looked at someone and the way their body is moving slightly, you knew they were sad? Not because they were making a sad face, not because they were crying, though crying could be affective, right? And a display, certainly, but just like the way their body, was carrying itself. That is effects and displays. So I know that one is a little vague, but see if you can spend the next few days, when you're watching TV or you're looking at the people you're living with, and see if you can notice, when they shiver or when they shake their head slightly, like when they have those affect and displays.